Hi everyone, my name is Piterpakulski. Today we will continue talking about acquisition financial model. So the legend of this financial model is that we are planning to buy a house or an apartment, and then we will have the rent as a revenue in our project. So it's gonna be a leasing contract. And at the beginning of this video we started so blues, for example, so blues are the inputs in our financial model. So these cells we can play with the inputs the way we want. So we started with creating 10-year horizon. Here we specify the price of a house that we are buying. Here we specify the amount of down payment in percentages. Then we specify the loan term in months. Then we specify the loan interest rate, grace periods if we do have any for principal payments and interest payments. Then we specify our revenues, so we're going to have 4,500 monthly for the rent out of this house or an apartment. Then we specify when the deal is going to happen. We can change this very easily, so we can see here the deal starts in April. We can displace it, for example, to July. We can see how the revenue displaces, so it's very easy to play with inputs. Then we describe the cycle of the revenue. So first of all we specify the time for the first deal in months. Then we specify the leasing contract period, and then we are making an assumption that our tenant will quit, and we will need some time to find a new tenant. So we will have 2 months period when we will have no revenues. So this is, we can look at this. So here we can see the revenues, and here we have 2 months when one contract ends. Then we have a new tenant. So we are describing this cycle, and then we're specifying we inflate our rent, because the rent is going to jump each year. So this is the block of inputs where we specify the rent. And today we'll be talking about operating expenses. You can give us a like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. You can also order financial models from scratch for your unique business ideas. We can help you with that. Then, by the way, at the end screen of this video I will be giving the link to the playlist where you will be able to see all these videos how I'm creating this financial model from scratch. And when this model will be ready, I will be giving the links to the process of creation of this financial model in the description of this video as well. So you will be able to see the whole process of creation of this model. So now let's move to the operating costs. So operating, so we are creating a new block of inputs. So here we have the typical, so let's say that we may have some seasonality in operating expenses. So I will create the typical year. So here we will have the list of operating expenses with their seasonality. So operating cost item 1. So let's say we have 6 operating expenses. You can add more. We are just creating the example of how this financial model would look like. So these are the inputs in this financial model. So I'm coloring this block of inputs with blue. As I already told you, this is the color of inputs, like this, like this, like this. Later we will hide all these lines and leave only the cash flow statement, where we will be playing with all these inputs. So here we will be able to name all these inputs, and for example, some of operating expenses will occur monthly. Some of them they will occur only once a year, for example. Some of them will occur, for example, once in a quarter. Some of them, for example, we will pay just for example with some specific algorithm. So we can imagine different values, put it here. Some expenses can be seasonal. For example, we have some expenses, for example, occurring April, May, June, July, August. Some of them can occur in winter months. So it depends on your real estate, where it is located. So now we need to place all these numbers inside the timeline. So operating, but before that we will need to introduce one more parameter, operating costs, payment start, operating cost payment start months from the deal. So why am I introducing these parameters? So for example, so this is where the deal occurs, and then after 3 months, for example, from this moment we start paying the operating expenses. We may not have the revenue at this moment, but we may already have the operating costs. That's why we need in this case we need to calculate whether we have or do not have operating losses. And let's make some additional bullets that will help us. So if this value is more than tied to the first deal is more than this value, then we will have mistake. Otherwise we will have okay, and press enter. So for example, if we start paying the operating expenses after that we found the tenant, so this will be a mistake. Or if we start paying the operating expenses before we start the revenues, so that's okay. So I will use some conditional formatting for that. So this will be mistake, and for OK I will create the rule, use formula. This one equals to OK. I will use another format. Fill will be green and font will be black. So 7 2 OK. So now we need to put these expenses into the timeline. I will add some lines. So first of all, I need to calculate the period of let's say 3 months after the deal start. Months to operating costs payments. So what will be the formula? So for the January, the formula will be very simple, but for February, so if this one equals to 0 and this equals to 0, then 0, then if this one equals to 0 and this one is more than 0, then we will place 1. Then if and this value is less than this period, then we will take the previous value plus 1, otherwise 0. And now I'm closing the brackets. So now we can see the 3 months of when we are waiting to pay all these expenses, operating expenses, and since July 23, when this period is over, we will start paying these expenses. So operating expenses, operating expenses payments start. So here we have 0, but for this cell we will write a formula. If this one equals to more than 0 and this value equals to 0, so we are actually describing this month equals to 0, then we put 1, otherwise 0. So this is the moment when we start paying the operating expenses. Now I will create operating expenses payments like this. So 1 means that we have an operating expenses at this moment, 0 means that we don't have operating activity at this moment. So this formula will be very simple. Just try to create very simple formulas, because you will be able to explain people reading you easily, understand your thoughts, and easily give you the financing. So this is one of the secrets of financial modeling. Just try to make a friend of the person who is reading your financial model, who is gonna play scenarios from your financial model. So this is a secret that I would like to share with you. Be as simple as possible. So this is the moment when you have operating expenses start. And now I will be just creating some gray line, then I will finish this table here. I will copy the timeline. Operating expenses step 1. So this will be a preliminary step. So here I will put the list of operating expenses. Then here I'm gonna put these costs. Then I'm gonna extrapolate these costs to the whole of our timeline. And now I'm gonna crop these expenses and make them start with this moment. I will call it step 2. Then here I will put the list of expenses, operating expenses, and then I will just multiply this value on this value. I will freeze the line. Now I'm extrapolating this formula to the bottom and to the right. So what we are fighting for? So for example, if we would like to displace this cost earlier, we can see how they are moving. And of course we can displace the deal itself. So deal starts in September, operating expenses start in November, rent starts in January. So now I can easily play with all these periods. And for example, if we increase this period to, for example, 5, we will get here a mistake because we need to decrease this amount. So now we can easily play with this input. I hope you enjoyed this video. You may give us a like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. You can also order financial models from scratch for your unique business ideas. We can help you with that. At the end screen of this video, I will be giving the link on the playlist where all these videos of creation of this financial model from scratch will be placed. And when the whole financial model will be ready, I will be giving all the links on the process of creation of this model in the description of this video. So see you guys in next videos. Thank you and bye.